so we're just starting with a little something from yesterday, and I asked the students to figure out what f of 3 would be. And I hope you know that you just stick the 3 in right there. And that's 3 squared is 9 times 2 is 18 minus 3, what'd you get? 15. Raise your hand if you had 15. Awesome. Do you know that that's the point 3 comma 15? If you've never processed that before, this was the x. And remember, this whole thing is y equals, right? That's the y. So 3 comma 15. Okay? All right. So what if I asked you for f of m? The answer has an m in it. Don't overthink it. Just asked you to stick 3 in and you stuck it in. I just asked you to put m in. And instead of x, you put m. That's it. 2m squared minus 3. Just stick the m in there. That makes sense? All right. Then let's just make it m plus 1. Could you please figure out what f of m plus 1 is? So I just asked you to stick m plus 1 in the problem. So m plus 1 goes here. The only problem is you can't leave it that way because that can be multiplied out. We just stuck m plus 1 in the right spot, but now you have to multiply it out, and you have to know PEMDAS. Can I add m plus 1? No, because I don't know m. So then I can skip over the parentheses, but can you do the exponent on this? Yes, you can. You can multiply out m plus 1 squared because it's m plus 1 and another m plus 1. And you wait until that's done to multiply by 2, and then at the very end you're going to subtract 3. Go ahead, finish that off and get the answer. I'll pause for just a second while you do that. Okay, so now you probably have m squared. The outside and the inside make 1m, and another 1m makes 2m. You got to get good at doing those in your head. And then 1 plus 1 is 1. Sorry, it's times. It's not plus. 1 times 1 is 1. A lot of people get goofed up and put a 2 right there. The 2 goes in front. We haven't done that yet. And then we subtract 3. Now I'm going to multiply the 2 by everything. And at the end, I'll add, actually, and subtract 3. 2m squared, final answer, plus 4m. And then this 2 times the 1 would have been 2, but then I subtract 3. 2 minus 3, negative 1. Raise your hand if you had that. Awesome. Okay, now that was as complicated as we got yesterday. You stuck things into functions. The new thing for today, there are notes. Everybody go find the notes that look like this, and we are going to take it from there in those notes. So find and open the notes. The pop machine is the opening picture. Okay, resuming from the notes. The reason that this is a pop machine here is the pop machines are a function in a certain way. Why are they a function? Because you can rely on them. If you press like G38 and you get a certain kind of pop, let's say it's this one, you can expect that you will get that same pop every time you put in G38. You have one input, type in G38, it's going to give that kind of pop out. That's what makes it a function. Put in an input, you can depend on what the output is. We'll talk more about how to tell if something's a function in a different lesson, but it's kind of like that. All right, move on to this page. This just is a couple easy ones where they just throw in some absolute values, which technically means how far is it from 0? So technically, you're just going to have answers that are always positive, or the smallest answer you could have in an absolute value, it comes out to 0. All right, so take a second and answer these two, A and B. They should take you like 5 seconds each. Stick 7 in the f function, absolute value it. And you probably find yourself doing 5 minus 14. Right? 5 minus 2 times 7. So 5 minus 14. If you did 5 minus 2 first, that's not the order of operations. Subtracts come last. So 5 minus 14, did you get negative 9? And then did you absolute value it? Then you should have had 9. Raise your hand if you had 9 for your final answer. Awesome. Just tell me what this other answer comes out to. Say it if you know it. 10 is correct. Good. Now, let's do this one. X when 2gx is 34. Ew. All right. Hint. Usually they just tell you what g of x is. They usually, in the last assignment, they might have said, g of x is 34. So you'd go and you'd stick a 34 right here. But this is different. It says 2gx is 34. Anybody have a bright idea what to do? Wouldn't it be nice if we knew what g of x was? Yes?
You maybe divide by 2.
You are correct. You divide by 2 on both sides. And g of x is 34 divided by 2. 34 cut in half. What do you think? 17. Good. Now, have I solved my problem? No, but I know what g of x is. So g of x is 17. So I'm now going to go here and go, g of x is 17. So cross off g of x and put 17. And they want to know x. Well, solve it. And if you just try to guess and check what the answer is, you might screw it up. Subtract 1 from both sides, and you got 16 equals x squared. And I know some kids are like, oh, yeah, so x is 4. What else? The answer isn't just 4. Yes. Negative 4 also works, doesn't it? Okay, now that's a critical moment, and I want to remind you about this. At this moment, I hate having to teach this to you because I wish you would have known this before, but most kids were taught how to do this way. Square root, and the square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 16 is 4. That is wrong. If you were taught that way, I apologize. That was wrong. You're supposed to square root both sides, but the answer to this comes out to an absolute value of x, and then that means you'll get 2 answers. X equals 4 and x equals negative 4. See, some people just cheated and went like, oh, there's 2 square roots of 16, plus and minus 4. No, there isn't. The square root of 16 is just 4. There isn't 2 square roots of 16. So it's easy to forget one of these answers because math teachers are famous for skipping this. They just say square root of x squared is x, but it's not. The square root of x squared is the absolute value of x. When I got to the high school, and I had been teaching middle school for many years, one of the high school teachers is like, no, seriously, you need to understand this. Take a second and understand this. Because I used to always just do this. Let's say it was 4. And I used to go square root, x equals 2. And then I would tell the kids, oh yeah, but also negative 2. But I wouldn't say why. And if I had said, well, it's kind of like you can do negative 2 as the square root of 4, but it isn't. Try it on a calculator. Do square root of 4. It doesn't say negative 2, does it? All right. So what I should have been saying is that this is the absolute value of x. And that gives you a reason to say, oh, so you're saying negative 2 could work and 2 could work. Both of those answers could work. And if you have this absolute value, it'll remind you you're not done with the problem until you've thought about both answers. Okay, pretty dense day today. This is one of those days where you might end up deciding, I wish I was in regular. X equals 4, x equals negative 4. Those are my 2 answers. Because I got this, I set the 17 in there, and then I solved it, and then I reminded you why I got 2 answers, a 4 and negative 4. So those are the 2 answers for this. Okay. I want to do one more like that. See these same f of x and g of x? I'm going to give you one more like that to make sure you get this, because this is for sure on the test. Your test isn't yet. You got a little more time, but test isn't Monday either. But if I said x when f of x is equal to 7x, would you know what to do? F of x is 7x. Solve it. And then in a moment, compare your answer with the kid sitting next to you. I'll pause for a second. Will you solve that red riddle? X when f of x is 7x. If you want to know you started right, find f of x and stick a 7x there. There's f of x. I'm going to stick a 7x right there. I put a 7x there. How many of you started right at least? Okay, good. What did you get for a final answer? Is it a fraction? Because it should be. 5 over 9. Or 9 over 5. Which one is it? 5 over 9. Okay, I'm going to just finish it to make sure. So I'm going to get rid of the smaller one. I'm adding 2x to both sides. And I get 9x equals 5. Right? Dividing both sides by 5. Nope, by 9. Isn't x equal to 5/9? Okay, good. All right. What's new? Charts are new. Okay, so let's say I wanted to find f of 3. Would everybody please look up here, and f of 3 is somewhere on that chart. F of 3. For some of you, this is going to be like natural as falling off of a chair. Just like lean over, it's easy. Boom, done. So what's f of 3? F of 3. Well, would you agree that this whole thing is the f function? And I know some of you were like, well, there isn't any 3 in there. That's not where you should be looking for the 3. F of 3 means, when I say f of 3, do you get that the x is 3 in that? So x is 3, goes right there. And you kind of look and see where do they overlap. Who was assuming it was -1? Raise your hand if you had -1. You are correct. It is -1. Okay. All right. Now here's where people get really messed up. F of -1. Oh, we just did that one. No, we didn't. We didn't just do f of -1. So do it like we just did it. F of -1. Not f of x is -1. That'd be different. F of -1. So do you get x is -1? So here's my x, and the answer to that one is 5. Raise your hand if you had 5. All right, good. Then we can do them backwards. X when, remember we don't really start with that, we start with this. G of x is 0. Did they just say that x was 0? No. G of x is 0. Well, first of all, I'm going to circle the whole g of x column because that's the only one I care about right now because the problem is about g of x. And the common mistake is to go, oh, so g of 0. No, they didn't say g of 0. They said g of x is 0. That's like, oh, you mean that one? Yes, I do. And what do we want to figure out? What x was. So the answer is -1. Be honest, how many of you had that before I said it? All right. I'm getting them. Ooh, is there 2 answers? There is. There's another one. I didn't even see it. That wasn't me playing dumb. I didn't even notice it. There is 2 right answers. -1 works, but so does 1. Get your head around that. G of x was 0 in 2 spots. And so there's 2 x's that would have worked. All right, how about this one? How about without my help, you just figure out the answer? The answer is just a number that might be like, the answer is -10. It's just a number. figure out what you think it is and compare it to the kid I've paired you with. It's rows 1 and 2, rows 3 and 4. Here you compare it to the person in front or behind you in this row, and you two guys compare. Get your answer, compare it to the kid next to you. You start with just f of 2, so make sure you got that right. Here's f, here's of 2. You should have started with a 0. If you had a 0 in your problem, you were probably doing it right. Because f of 2 is 0. And then this is just 0, and then it's negative 2 times 0. And so that's 0. Raise your hand if you had 0 for your answer. Then you're on the right track. Okay. I'm going to make a bold statement. I bet you less than half of you can figure out D. We'll see. Prove me wrong. These are tricky. Did you subtract 2 from both sides? If not, you already lost. Raise your hand if you did do that right. All right, we're at about half the class, and I said less than half the class, so I already win. Because there's no way everybody's going to get it right from here either. All right, so now f of x is 2. So then, you're not doing f of 2, you're doing f of x is 2. Here's the f of x, and not f of 2, but f of x is 2 means the x must have been 0. If you got that, you're in the top half of the class. Nice job. What? Oh, there's another answer. This is one of those units that can absolutely be frustrating that way. There's an answer that was right. 0 was right, but so is 4. And I bet we're down to like only 10% of people that pulled that off. Who had both answers? Raise your hand if you did. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's actually about 20% of the class. Nice job. Okay, here's a new slide. It's a different color, but it's the same basic idea. And honestly, I don't want to do all of them. So I'm going to have us just do the first two, A and B. Figure out G of 0, figure out G of 4, times them together. This one you'll have to solve it first. And then go to the chart. Okay, so f of 0 is 2. Yay, I got the first part, that's 2. Now I times it by G of 4. G of 4 ends up being that. G of 4 is 4. 2 times 4, who had 8? Cool. That one is easy. Now, see if we can figure out B. Did you divide by -2 first? And G of x equals 3. Now be careful, you can be tempted to do G of 3 and get 7. That'd be wrong. G of x is 3. So then you look back to see what x was, and x was 2. They wanted x, right? And x was 2. Okay, cool. Now they're in a graph. I bet you a lot of people are just going to intuitively be able to do this. F of 6. Look at the graph. Take a guess what this means. Take your best guess on f of 6, and then please quietly so we don't like everybody hears what the answer is because you say it super loud. Quietly, maybe just turn your iPad with your answer on it towards the other person and see what you think it is, see what they think it is. Try to figure out this answer. Be less obsessed with the corner of the... Talk it through. So this is the part where you do it. I think it's this close. All right, the key is to ask yourself, did they tell you X or did they tell you f of X? In this problem, did they tell you Sorry. Did they tell you X? Yeah, they did. Yeah, this is where X goes. They said X was 6. So, this is where the X-axis is. Go over to 6. You go up to the line, and it's right there. And the Y is 2. Do you remember me saying that when they write it this way, that means 6, 2? X is in there. That's the Y value, 6, 2. See, that's the point that goes with it. All right, now that you got that, f of 2 should be pretty easy. They told you X was 2. You go to X is 2. Follow it up. Seems like the point 2, 2. 2, 2. F of 2 is 2. All right. F of 0, whatever that is, I'm just going to times it by 3. F of 0 was right there, and it was 0. So that whole thing is just 0. Negative 3 times 0 is 0. And last but not least, 2 plus 7 is 9. They really want f of 9. And then 9 is right there. And then you just follow it up to that point. And that seems like, I think the answer is 1. And then I ask myself, is 9, 1 the answer? And it is. See, this is 9, 1. That's what that means. All right, the next slide. They, of course, get more complicated because here they just have 2 separate ones. You just have to divide them. But here they did not give you X. They gave you f of X. F of X is like Y. So basically they just said, hey, Y is 8. What's X? That's really what this question is saying. Y is 8. So what's X? So that's what you got to ask yourself each time. So the first 2 aren't that bad. But this one, that one is really hard. You're going to want to watch when I do it. I think most people are going to do it wrong. I'm going with way less than half the class figures out the third one. When I explain it to you, it's still kind of hard. These are hard. You'll have to really watch. All right, f of 9, that's easy. F of 9 is 1. Done. F of 1 is 1. Done. 1 divided by 1 is 1. That should have been easy. Okay. This one, I think you can catch on that they didn't tell you X was 8. They told you Y was 8. So here's where Y is 8. See up here. And if I follow it across, it looks like it's 1 past 9, which to me that means that must be a 10 right there. And so therefore it's 10. X is 10. Who actually got that one right? I got a C. Oh, good. But now, in a second, I'm going to tell you this answer. But I hate it when kids are like, oh, I knew that. But then I can't like tell if they really knew that or not. Okay? So I want you to get your best guess on this one. Like, oh, I think the answer is 7 or whatever you think the answer is. And I want you to show it to the other kid. That way somebody else knew that you said that answer. And you'll be able to vouch for them. That, yeah, that's what they had. Because not many people are going to get this, and I want to see who those amazingly smart kids are. Take your best guess. Show it to the kid next to you. All right. Did anybody show the other person two answers? 1, 2, 3 of you have a chance then. Because maybe some of you figured out one of the answers, but there's two. All right. Okay, now let me show you how. I'm going to show you how I do this problem that makes sense to me. They're so hard that I try to do the problem one step at a time. I've told you that before, right? So this works for me. I don't know what that is. But f of whatever that is, f of that will equal 1. F of something equals 1. Would you agree that f of something will be 1? And do you get then, I got to figure out f of what will equal 1. Is that where the x goes? No, they're telling us that y is 1. F of something gives you a y of 1. There's the y is 1, and there's one there, and there's one there. Who was on the right track on this one? Okay, good. Now, f of what is 1? F of 1 is 1. Isn't it? Isn't f of 1 equal to 1? Yeah. So that's one of my possible answers. But you scribbled out part of the problem. Now I can reveal that part of the problem and say, oh, if this is just a fact that f of 1 is 1, and f of this is 1, then this must equal 1. X minus 2 must be the same as 1. Now I'm going to add 2 to both sides, and I get x equals 3. Watch when I check it and make sure it works. I stick a 3 right there, and do you get 3 minus 2 is 1, and then f of 1 is 1, and that's a fact. I looked it up on the chart right there. X equals 3 was one of the answers. Did anybody have 3? All right. Now, a lot of you had that one, but just like I got burned on this before, there's 2 answers. Because, see, there's another spot. So I'll show you how to do that again. My approach on this problem is I scribble out this part because it's too complicated to think about all at once. And I just think f of what is 1? And now I got another spot. F of 9 is 1. And then do you get x minus 2 needs to be 9? Do you get writing this underneath helps? Because then you can just go, oh, so this has to be this. X minus 2 must, minus 2 must be 9. Add 2 to both sides, x equals 11. Anybody have 3 and 11 that they showed the other person? All right, 1, 2, 3 of you pulled that off. That's impressive. Okay, something like that on the test. Is test tomorrow? No. Is test Monday? No. You got time to learn it still, but if you didn't understand that one, you want to always be going into the test like understanding all of them, but then you allow for, you can make a dumb mistake here and there and still get an A. But if you don't understand this yet, you got to get it by the time we take the test. Don't just like give up on that one problem. Conversely, a lot of really smart kids go, oh my gosh, there was something in math I didn't understand. I'm going to fail the test. No, there's going to be one question like this on the whole test. So if you don't get this, even several days from now, is it going to cause you to get an F? No. Maybe you just won't get 100%, because there's that one that you won't know. But I think you can do it. Use the scribble it out technique like I did. All right. So this looks complicated because of how the graph is. Let me make sure you understand this. When there's an empty spot, that means that the graph doesn't exist right there. So if I just asked you what's f of 1, you might have thought it's 2 things, but no, it's not. That doesn't exist. An empty spot means there's no answer there. So if I just asked you what's f of 1 here, what would the answer be? 0. Would you agree that 1 comma 0 is what that means? And look, I got a point at 1 comma 0. See? All right. Good enough. Now, let's just look at a wavy one. Just figure out f of 5. Don't overthink this. F of 5. Well, there's where 5 is, and it's right there, and it's 3. Who had 3 for their answer? Okay, good, you're getting this. On this one, did I tell you x? No, I told you y is equal to 0, and then you have to go, ooh, this is one of those ones where there's lots of answers. Y equals 0 is this line right here. And look, boop, hits right there, boop, hits right there, boop, hits right there. There's 3 answers. X equals 1, X equals 6, and X equals 8. There's 3 answers for that one. I think I got them right. Anybody else get the same as me? Okay, good. All right, cool. I think you're getting this. So that's enough for one day. You have a Schoology quiz on this stuff. I'm going to give you the rest of the time in class, which is a fair amount. It's like 20 minutes. If you're stuck, please come up and ask. And then you have a weekend. You could work on this a few minutes here and there. You'll get her done. And please ask for help if you need help. Yes, sure, no problem. And let's talk about the smoothest way to ask to use bathroom. All you got to do is type that pass in, but don't actually hit submit because you don't know if I'm going to say yes or not. But you walk up and you show me this pass that's all ready to go, and then just bring it up though, because I got to actually see it. And then if I say yes, you can leave your iPad on the desk if you want to, or if you do it on a phone, then obviously you would be able to take your pass with you. But that's the best way to ask for use the bathroom is to walk up here and I see the pass and I'm like, oh yeah, go ahead. And then she can hit submit, and then she leaves it on her desk. Okay, cool. All right, that's all I got for you for today. Work on that Schoology quiz, please.